Now we see that mercantilism, went from the period of 1500 to the period of 1800. And that is what I mean by, 1500 to 1800. So when you're talking about mercantilism, I've mentioned so many things under this theory. I have said that when you talk about mercantilism as an economic theory, that is the first thing you should know. And as an economic theory, it seeks to promote what we call, international trade that is meant to favor the government of a particular country. And that goal was the, standard for measurement of what? Of the wealth of, nations at that time. And I also mentioned that with countries like France, Germany, Belgium, and those of these countries, they were engaged in mercantilism. Just like the rise and fall of empires, everything has a start and everything has what? An end. Now, let us now look at what we call the end or the era of the end of mercantilism. The end of mercantilism. What were the things that led to the fall or to the collapse of mercantilism? Don't forget, as I said before, that industrialization and capitalism set the stage for mercantilism. Capitalism and what? And the industrialization set the stage for capitalism. For mercantilism. Now, how does it set the stage? I've explained before. I said as a result of of the growth of industrialization, that it got to a time that Europe began to develop itself in the area of industrialization. So industrialization led to the end of slave trade. Now that Europe had to look for a market outside what? Europe. And that was how the issue of colonialism actually came into place. So from the period of 1500 to 1800, there was mercantilism, and because of industrialization and the advent of capitalism, it actually set the foothold for mercantilism. But unfortunately too, mercantilism came to an end. So democracy and free trade destroyed mercantilism in the late 1700. So democracy, we've done democracy before. We said that democracy is, the right of every qualified adult citizen to vote and be voted for. And we said that democracy, started from where? From the ancient Greek city-state of Athens. And at that time in Athens, they practiced what we call direct democracy, where everybody attended the assembly together and take decisions on and how to move the society forward. So democracy and free trade destroyed mercantilism in the late 1700. Apart from that, American and French Revolution formalized large nations ruled by democracy. So apart from democracy, so like I said, democracy, that democracy and free trade, that's how it actually destroyed the mercantilism in the late 1700. So apart from that, the American and the French Revolution, actually formalized what we call nations ruled by democracy. So when most of these nations, after the end of the American Revolution and the French Revolution, I think in 1749, if I'm right, most of these nations actually embraced democracy. And after apart from the fact that they embraced the democracy, they also encourage what we call free trade. Now, one of the educationist, or one of the people of those that actually promoted this was a man called Adam Smith. Adam Smith. In those days when we were in the secondary school, we looked at the definition of economics, and there's no way you are going to look at the definition of economics when you are not going to mention the man called Adam Smith. So Adam Smith argued against mercantilism, with one of his publications, The Wealth of Nations. So Adam Smith was one that wrote on the wealth of nations in the year 1776. The Wealth of Nations. So Adam Smith was one of the proponents that was against mercantilism in his book titled The Wealth of Nations. He argued that foreign trade strengthens the economies of both countries. You understand? So each country specializes in what it produces best. So in his book, he said countries should specialize in the production of goods that they have what we call comparative advantage. So by doing that, they have what we call comparative advantage. He also explained that a government that puts business ahead of its people will not last. So his laissez-faire capitalism coincided with what? With the rise of democracy in the United States and Europe. In 1791, mercantilism was actually breaking down, but free trade had not developed. So most countries still regulated free trade to enhance what we call domestic growth. So fascism, totalitarianism, adopted mercantilism in 1930s and in the 1940s. So after the stock market crash of 1929, countries used protectionism to save jobs. They reacted to the Great Depression with tariffs. Are you there? So what I'm trying to say here is that even though mercantilism had actually collapsed, along the line, over the years, some countries still adopted or encouraged mercantilism. One of such countries is a country called Italy, where you have fascism and totalitarianism. So Italy under Benito Mussolini and some other totalitarian state at that time actually encouraged what we call mercantilism. So in the 1940s and 1940s and the 30s, a lot of countries, which was as a result of the stock market crash of 1929, they still adopted to some extent the policy of mercantilism by using protectionism to save their jobs. So in the 30s, the world was visited with a depression, economic depression, and little wonder that most of these countries had to stick up for what we call what we call mercantilism. Even in today's world, there are some theorists that believe that Donald Trump himself encourages what we call mercantilism because of his trade war with China. Because he believes that the Chinese are having edge or advantage over the Americans in terms of trade relations. So some theorists or some proponents believe that Donald Trump was actually promoting mercantilism, and you can remember what happened between them as a result of this problem, the trade war between America and China, and this trade war is still ongoing even up to today. So mercantilism has in some over the years has actually collapsed. because of the advent of what? Of democracy and the free trade. You understand? Because of the American Revolution, because of the French Revolution, and because of also the book that was written by Adam Smith in one of his books called The Wealth of Nations. He said government should concentrate more on its people than what? Than, so that when government concentrates on its people, and apart from that, if the government, engages in, products or services, that it will have what we call comparative advantage. So when the government specializes in what it produces best, it will have what we call comparative advantage. So we have gone deeply in this topic called mercantilism. We can now say that mercantilism, it lasted for over the period of 300 years, and gold was the measurement of wealth. And each country tries to protect its borders, that any goods and service that passes through must be taxed. So mercantilism encourages export, and because of that, it does not encourage importation. So on this note, I am going to end my topic on mercantilism. And I believe we have actually gained a lot of things in this topic called mercantilism. So, my YouTube channel still remains David Oni Wiz, and my names are David Oni. We want to use this medium to encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe to this channel so that you can motivate us to bring up more videos like this. Also, leave your comment on how to serve you better. And apart from this, also click on the notification button so that you'll be notified anytime we come up with videos on the internet, on YouTube, on the internet. Also, don't forget to like our videos. So till we meet next time, I remain your humble, loyal, humble servant, David Oni. Thank you for watching my videos. For our returning subscriber, we say a very, very big thank you. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please go and subscribe. Till we meet next time, thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.